morning, everyone. I am Councilmember Byron Amos, officially calling to order the City Council Transportation Committee on Wednesday, March 12, 2025. I have committee members joining me, our Vice Chair, Councilwoman Overstreet, to my left, to my right, Councilman Wan, and then, of course, Councilmember Farokhi, and then we actually have our colleague that will be participating in one of our presentations joining us, Councilmember Westmoreland. Make a motion to adopt the agenda. Motion has been made and second. Please open the vote. The vote is open.
The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. The agenda has been adopted.
Thank you. Move to approve the minutes. Motion has been made and second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. The minutes have been approved.
Thank you. That moves us to our public comment session. I remind you we have 3 minutes. Also ask you to be respectful of the people in the audience. Keep all comments toward the committee itself. First, we have Mr. Martinez.
Good morning, members of the Transportation Committee. My name is Felipe Martinez. I'm here today representing ATL RDU, a grassroots organization formed by hard-working rideshare driving serving the Atlanta area. On February 14th, we held an action to demonstrate the public that this committee, that the rideshare drivers have a voice and that we are determined to be heard. We are today formally announcing the formation of the Atlanta Rideshare Drivers Union, a rank-and-file organization dedicated to securing a seat at the table with our fellow workers, both here in City Council and at the airport. We understand that Uber and Lyft's lobbyists are actively working to influence policy directly that impacts our livelihoods. As independent drivers, we simply cannot afford the same level of lobbying representation at this time. However, we believe our voices are just as important, if not so more, as we are the ones that provide the essential services that connect passengers at the airport in our city. We know that there is issues here in the city of Atlanta, in the airport, and at the airport, the regulations are antiquated. The TNC regulations are antiquated. We're asking to form a TNC task force so that not only Gig and Uber and other TNCs get all the money, but the workers also. The workers have a fair share at the table. This is what we deserve. This is what we're asking for. We're asking for monthly meetings with representatives at the airport so we can bring our complaints to the airport. We're looking to get more involved. We believe that drivers in Atlanta, Georgia, the airport deserve a voice, and I want to say thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. Again, the rules are antiquated. We're here to help form those rules, not just the big companies like Uber and Lyft. We know that they're coming with their lobbyists, and we just want to give our drivers, independent contractors, a voice to get a raise, because we all know it's nice to get a raise sometimes, but Uber and Lyft is taking our money every single year. They take more of our money, and we're not going to take it anymore. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Overstreet.
I have a quick question. Did you said you're forming an organization? Did you bring any literature about that?
No, not right now.
To share with us?
We will. I'll make sure we get it for you. Yeah.
Get that to us.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Our next speaker, I believe this is Maurice Morris. And as you approach, we've been joined by our other colleague, Councilman Hillis.
Good morning, esteemed committee members. My name is Maurice. I am the CFO of RR Winds LLC, the parent company of Rideshare Rates, a premium rideshare platform serving Georgia. Today, I want to highlight a critical issue that is preventing businesses like mine from operating fairly within the state. The Georgia World Congress Center Authority, GWCCA, has a policy that restricts businesses from obtaining annual permits to operate on its properties, including Mercedes-Benz Stadium, State Farm Arena, and other high-traffic locations. Instead, they only offer rental space agreements, effectively blocking transportation companies from serving the public as we do at other state-owned locations. This policy is not aligned with broader approach of Georgia state-owned properties, where businesses can apply for annual permits to operate legally and predictably. For example, Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport offers annual permits for transportation companies, allowing for a consistent, regulated service. Why is GWCCA an exception? Businesses in Georgia can pay for permits to do business in the state, yet we are being told we cannot buy a permit to do business with the state. This is a contradiction. This contradiction is creating unnecessary barriers to innovation, competition, and job creation. The rideshare industry is evolving, and the demand for high-end, reliable transportation services is increasing, especially with major events coming to Atlanta, like the FIFA World Cup. Yet due to GWCCA's restrictive policy, we are being held up while other businesses in similar industries are allowed to operate under structured permits. I urge the committee to investigate this issue and work toward a solution that aligns GWCCA's policies with those of other state-owned properties. Small businesses and entrepreneurs deserve a clear, fair, and consistent path contribution to Georgia's transportation ecosystems. Sorry, I'm a little nervous this morning. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, sir.
Absolutely.
Next on the list, I think this is Liza Ramsey.
Good morning, council members. My name is Lisa Ramsey, and I'm an organizer with Atlanta Rideshare Drivers Union. I have been driving for Uber and Lyft for over 8 years, and I've done over 25,000 rides. I can confidently say that each year since I've started, the pay has gone down and the expenses have gone up. I would like to ask the city of Atlanta to be a little more progressive when it comes to labor issues and worker protection. Rideshare drivers in more than a handful of states have won protections like minimum pay and benefit, deactivation protection, and forced transparency from the rideshare company. I would love to see that happen in Georgia as well. Speaking of transparency, we used to be able to see on the Uber app just how much the riders paid for the ride. Uber took that ability away a few years ago when they started taking a bigger percentage of the fare and didn't want us to know. Every now and then I ask my Uber riders what they pay, and I'm shocked each time when I compare the amount they paid with the amount I'm getting paid for the ride. Uber often takes way more than half the fare, even as much as 70%. That's not fair. I'm the one who pays for the car, the registration, the gas, the maintenance, the repairs, the car insurance, the car washes, the dash cam, and health insurance, in addition to my time and having to pay my own taxes and save up for retirement and my next car, since my current one will wear out quickly. I should get the biggest share of the fare. Uber is just a facilitator that connects the rider with the driver. We do the actual work. So my proposal is that we institute a minimum driver pay that all rideshare companies operating in Atlanta needs to pay the drivers. The pay needs to cover all our car expenses and basic living expenses so that we can continue to operate as rideshare drivers. In addition to that, I would like to see a Transparency Act, paid sick days, and help with health insurance costs. One last thing. I don't know if anyone is here from the airport today, but I would like to share with everyone that the drivers have a waiting lot at the airport while we wait for riders. Some drivers spend lots of time there throughout the day, and we do not have access to clean indoor restrooms. Instead, we have a set of porta potties that tend to get very disgusting. Sometimes the cleaners find trash in there and punish the drivers by locking the porta potties for a whole week at a time. We need access to clean indoor bathrooms that are always available. That's it for me today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Marlene Smith, which has yielded your time to Dr. Robinson. So, Dr. Robinson, you have 6 minutes.
Good morning, Chair and the rest of the committee.
Morning.
I come here today to first, I would like to thank Ms. Jan Lennon, Anita Williams, and Mr. Michael Smith for their committed efforts in trying to work together and iron out any issues that may arise with employees or companies. So I greatly appreciate the olive branch that have been extended by the airport. And I just want to say that I greatly more appreciate it considering the recent disagreements that we may have had in the past. So that shows growth and that we all can work together for a common goal. Recently, there have been a turn of events that have caused me to sit back and reflect. And one thing happened that kind of touched me, that kind of I think was the tipping point, is when I went to Mr. Alex Warren mom's funeral, and I attended Mr. Al Wiggins' father's funeral. And I don't know if many of you know that Ms. Tyronia Smith works at the airport. Her mother-in-law passed. And with oftentimes speaking with Ms. LaShondra Burks, with her mother passing last year, I'm saying all that to say there's a certain audience that's watched this transportation. A lot of it is employees. And I just want to say that oftentimes people walk around and they deal with death. They still come to work. And when you lose a parent, it's a day-to-day thing that you deal with. And oftentimes we run into these people not knowing that they're still dealing with these things every day. And I think that we have to show more grace to people and understanding. And that touched me because it allowed me to see all these individuals as humans in that emotional moment, losing a mother or father, and hearing the stories when they speak at these receptions, and just seeing the love and the hurt that they deal with, but they still come to work. And you may disagree with them when they sitting up here or out in the hallway, but they're dealing with something so deeper that we don't understand. And it touched me because I'm an empath. You know, so I'm an empath. And I'm a very God-fearing man. I don't come down here preaching and speaking, but above all, I'm a God-fearing man every day, all day. And when you see grown men break down, it really touches you. I remember when I worked for the city, a guy named Mr. Willie that used to drive the bus at the Atlanta workforce. He was 86 years old, Miss Overstreet. His mother was 103. All of us at the workforce went to the funeral. I watched a grown man, 86-year-old, break down like a 10-year-old. He said, DeJuan, it don't matter how old you get, man. Your mom is your mom. Later on, Mr. Willie died. Very heartbreaking. He was very heartbroken. His mother was all he had, all he knew. 86-year-old man broke down crying. And I just wanted to just get up here and say, because so many people always be reaching out, looking at you as an activist, but it's much more than that. You know what I'm saying? It takes compassion. You know what I'm saying? Always willing to stand up for what's right, because if that's God's calling, it's God's calling. But God also called you to be his child above all. And the greatest commandment that God say above all these, Councilman Amos, is love. Love is the greatest above all these. And I just want to also just continue to give a heartfelt condolence to all the people that have lost their mother or father, and those who have lost such that I am not aware of. But I'm just speaking to those that I am aware of, and I have attended the ceremonies, and I've just asked that we continue to show certain people grace and mercy and love as they're dealing with these things on a day-to-day. And some deal with things different than others. Some can pick up and come to work and function like nothing has happened. Some can't. And so let's not dismiss those who do come to work and operate as if things are normal, but they are not normal. So thank you.
Thanks, sir. Next, we have, this seems to be Marilyn Phillips.
Good morning. I'm here specifically to speak in behalf of one of the public hearing items, which is the renaming of Dixie Street to Ullman Court. We're the ones that presented it, and I wanted to share a little bit more about the why behind it. So I'm the president and CEO of Status Home.
So if we could, public hearing. So right after we finish public comment, we will go into public hearing.
Okay.
And then I just notate to call you back up then. Okay?
No, that's fine. And then also Renee Starrett afterwards on the list is
Okay.
also for the same thing, just so you know.
And then it seems as if I have Ms. Parkes as well. Would that person be speaking during the public hearing? Look like Abigail Parkes. Okay, we'll just leave her there. So next we will have Rebecca Cerner. Would you be speaking during the public hearing or public comment? I see you down here with Alman as well. So that you'll be speaking to the public hearing issue? Okay, thank you. Ms. Cerner.
Good morning, Atlanta City Council members, members of the public. My name is Rebecca Cerna, and I'm the Executive Director at Propel ATL. And I'm here today to ask for your support of the resolution to reinstall the crosswalk at the Peachtree Center MARTA station across Peachtree Street. And I'm here because this is not a technical issue. You have excellent engineers and planners working for the city who know how to make the street safer. And we've done it before. I'm here because this is a political issue. The crosswalk was removed due to political pressure, and predictably, a man died as a result of that action. It's a hard thing to talk about, and no one wants these things to happen, but I urge you to think about the words we use. Accident is often used to describe these situations, but if the same thing happens over and over at the same locations, that's not an accident anymore. That's a result. And it's a sadly predictable result, it's a senseless result, and it's one that we have the power to prevent. I'm not here because we only care about Peachtree Street. Peachtree Street is our signature corridor, but it's not the only street in Atlanta that has challenges. We have Campbellton Road, we have Monroe Drive, we have streets in District 9. All across the city, we have corridors that need to be addressed urgently. So I implore you to act with that sense of urgency that I know you all share and feel. You've already taken a very important step as a council several years ago when you set that goal. You recognized there is a problem in the city of Atlanta, like so many cities throughout our region, our state, and our country, where people are killed simply trying to walk along a corridor. We're seeing an increase in the number of people killed on the sidewalk, waiting for a bus. We have to slow down the speed of car drivers on our corridors so that everyone can walk along those corridors safely, drive along them safely, bike, scoot, cross the street to get where they're going. So you hold the lives of so many in your hands, and I know you deal with so many different issues, but this one should be relatively simple. If we slow down the speeds of car drivers on our street by making it less comfortable to speed, we've for so long in our communities, in our cities, decades upon decades of traffic design has focused on speeding up car traffic. Previously, everyone was given the problem to solve of congestion, right? Let's speed up the cars. No, that's not the problem that we are facing today. Great cities, great neighborhoods are places where kids can cross the street, grandparents can cross the street safely. And so I think this resolution is an excellent first step. It needs to be adopted today, advanced quickly, and use the resources at your disposal. Use the people in the city who know how to make this street and all of the streets throughout our communities safer. Thank you.
Thank you. That actually brings us to the end of our public comment. I was informed that we have a short presentation before we get into public hearing, but I realized I said it's going to follow. So we're going to do the presentation before we're going into public hearing. Atlanta Region Commission quarterly update by our friend and colleague, Councilmember Matt Westmoreland.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, my friend and colleague. Normally, I provide a written update to this committee, and that is true in this instance as well. It's in your packets. But I wanted to take just 4 or 5 minutes to have Ben Camber come up from the Atlanta Regional Commission and present the slide deck that is in front of you to give you an update on the wildly successful e-bike rebate program that this council supported and that ARC ran on our behalf. So I will turn things over to you.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Westmoreland. Thank you to the committee for allowing some time to talk through the Atlanta e-bike rebate program. Again, my name is Ben Camber. I work for the Atlanta Regional Commission and served as the project manager for the Atlanta e-bike rebate program. We released a report at the end of last year, and I'm going to go through a couple of highlights from that report, and then I'll go quickly through some slides here, and then open it up to any questions that anyone has. So real briefly, so the Atlanta e-bike rebate program began, it was authorized at the beginning of 2024. It provides rebates to applicants to help them to purchase an e-bike. It's designed to provide reliable, affordable, and sustainable transportation to combat climate change and transportation costs. 4 different types of rebates that were offered. They're differentiated based on income qualification and the type of bike. It was very simple to be eligible for this program. As long as you were 18 years old and lived within the city of Atlanta, you were eligible to apply for this program and to receive a rebate. So we did 2 application rounds in 2024. We did one in June and then another in August. And all of the rebates were released and have expired by the end of the year. So just some really big numbers to kind of contextualize the program. So between the 2 application rounds, we received over 11,000 applications for the program. We were able to release or issue 734 rebates. And then of those 734 rebates, 579 ended up being redeemed within the period of time they needed to be. One of our goals for the program was that 75% of the rebate funds needed to go towards income qualified rebates. Those were defined for households that earned 80% or less of the area median income. We actually exceeded that target. 82% of the total funds ended up going towards those income qualified rebates. And I'll get into that in a second, but a lot of that had to do with the fact that those rebates were redeemed at a much higher rate than the general rebates. And then people are using their bikes. So we did surveys of all of the rebate recipients, a number of surveys. And preliminary showing of those surveys is 3/4 of the rebate recipients are using their bikes at least 2 days per week. And also there's a significant reduction in the number of car commutes that people are making since they received their new e-bikes. A 40% reduction is what we're seeing right now. Real briefly on the financial summary, the one thing I'll point out here is on that chart on the right there of the budget for the rebate fund specifically, 97% of that budget ended up being spent. So that went directly towards rebates that have been redeemed that are bikes on the street right now. So a very efficient use of those funds. Briefly on media and outreach, so the ARC, the outreach partner for this program was Propel ATL. They did a fantastic job doing outreach for this program. They worked in coordination with us at ARC to do media relations as well, number of community events, targeted engagement at MARTA stations and other areas throughout the target areas in the city. They also hosted a number of e-bike safety classes, which were attended really well by rebate recipients. And then there was a ton of earned media that resulted from our shared efforts on this program. So in the full report, we go into a lot more of the demographics for who applied for this program, but I just wanted to point out just a couple of comparisons between our general application pool and our income qualified pool. So the chart on the top left there that you'll see, that's basically a comparison between the age distribution between the 2 groups, between income qualified and general applicants. And you'll see on there that income qualified applicants tended to trend a little bit younger than the general applicants. The chart right below that one is employment status. So you'll see that the general applicants tended to say that they were employed full-time at a higher share compared to income qualified applicants. The top right chart there shows the racial distribution between the 2 groups. And you'll see from that chart there that income qualified applicants, overall, the share of income qualified applicants were more diverse than general applicants. And then right below that, we just wanted to point out kind of an interesting stat that we got from our survey data. About a third of income qualified applicants told us that they don't own or lease a car currently. That compares to 7% of general applicants. Next 3 slides, I'm going to go through pretty quickly here, but wanted to just show where did people apply from, right? So this first map here, the darker colors on the map show higher concentrations of applications that we received from those parts of the city. The one thing I would just want to point out within this map here is that there are certainly areas where we received more applications from or concentration of applications from, but we had demand for this program pretty much throughout the entire city. Almost 90% of neighborhoods within the city we received applications from. So there was a lot of demand. This map is the same map from before, but it shows population number, or it shows a symbol that represents population. So you'll see that the neighborhoods that we received the most applications from, or the concentration of applications from, also corresponded to those neighborhoods that have the highest population numbers. And then the last map here is really just goes to show that there is a lot of neighborhoods in the city where we received large concentrations of income qualified applications from. The darker colors here show income qualified applications divided by total applications by neighborhood. So in 35 neighborhoods in the city, every single application we received was from income qualified applicants. Redemption activity, so almost 80% of all of the rebates that were issued ended up being redeemed. As I said before, we saw a much higher number of redemptions among income qualified rebates at 93%. That compares to 63% of general rebates redeemed. The overall redemption, that 80% or that 79% number, compares very closely to comparable cities who have done similar types of e-bike rebate programs. And again, 3/4 of the total rebate funds were issued for income qualified rebates, but once all the redemptions worked out, it actually ended up being 82% of the final funds went towards income qualified rebates. So, sorry, I'm going very fast here, and I presented a lot of different numbers and data, but just wanted to take a moment here to say that this program has had a significant positive impact on people's lives. We receive just a ton, and I hope you all do too, just a ton of positive feedback, testimonials from folks who have received an e-bike through this program, and it's frankly changing people's lives. This person at the bottom here, in 3 months of owning her e-bike, said that she put 1,000 miles on her e-bike, which maybe isn't representative of every single person, but it just goes to show that these bikes are really having a huge impact. Just yesterday, I received a testimonial from one of our round 2 application recipients, and just wanted to point out, he said, "This is the first time I felt like the government was taking care of me in a long time." That was just something he shared with us, and how happy he was about this program and satisfied with it. Final 3 slides here are on program impacts. So again, we have some preliminary data that we wanted to share, and we shared in our report around how people are using their e-bikes, how that's changing their overall transportation behavior. So this first slide here, again, about 74% of rebate recipients are using their e-bikes at least 2 days per week. So people are using their e-bikes. And they're also they're biking more frequently as a result of this. So 77% of rebate recipients are riding a bike more since redeeming their rebate. And then income qualified recipients are commuting by e-bike 62% more frequently than general recipients. So we are seeing higher rate of usage among those income qualified applicants or recipients. So transportation behaviors and how they've changed. So people are replacing car trips for their commutes and also for their non-work transportation as a result of this program. So we're seeing a 40% reduction, that average reduction that rebate recipients are driving a car to work or school since receiving their e-bikes. And about 1/3 of rebate recipients' monthly non-commute trips are now by e-bike. And finally, this is the last slide. So all of this data is just for our round 1 application, round 1 recipients. What we wanted to do, or what we did here, was extrapolate that data to the entire cohort, so all 579 people who received an e-bike. So these are estimates, but what it goes to show, and kind of a projection, what it goes to show is that people are driving a whole lot less in cars that received an e-bike. So as a cohort, about 8,800 miles less that people are commuting by car per month, and about 15,000 miles more that people are commuting by e-bike per month. And that's for the entire cohort, all 579 people who received an e-bike. Again, it's an estimate, but we'll be updating a lot of this data as we get our round 2 e-bike surveys back from our round 2 recipients. So at the end of my presentation today, wanted to leave some time for questions. Of course, you can access the full report with all the data on our website, which is up on the screen right now.
Okay, I do see one question before we move forward. I want to recognize we've been joined by committee member, Councilmember Lewis. Councilmember Westmoreland, we want to go into, because I know you said you had some words, want to do question and answers first and then come back.
No words here. I'm done.
Okay,
Oh,
perfect.
yeah, to my colleagues.
Councilmember Faruqi.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Amos, and thank you for the report. I want to acknowledge Councilmember Westmoreland's role in leading and making this happen. This has obviously been a success, as it has been in other cities. I just wanted to request, the articulate answer today, but these map images of where people applied from, very useful, happy to see it. Can you do a similar map that shows where the vouchers actually went by concentration? I presume most of them went to income qualified folks based on the program parameters, but it'd be nice to see graphically on a map where the vouchers actually went.
Yeah, thank you for that question. We actually did create a map. It wasn't included in the report, but we can certainly share it with you. But the map essentially looks the same because it was completely a random lottery process for how rebates were distributed. So everybody had exactly the same chance. So if you look at a map of people who were issued a rebate, it matches up exactly, in terms of where those applications were received from. Obviously, a lot fewer were delivered, but the concentrations in which parts of the city were issued rebates are pretty much the same as those who applied to.
Great. And then, as you were talking, it occurred to me, collecting all this data obviously required some extensive survey work amongst recipients and just data collection. Do y'all have plans to do like longer tail surveys 6 months, a year out from now, just to kind of see how usage or impact is continued, or are you kind of done with like data?
No. So we did 3 surveys so far. So the latest survey was 3 months since they redeemed their rebate, but we also have planned to do it an entire year also, which we'll be able to collect a lot more data at that point. We're also working with Georgia Tech on a project to survey folks who didn't receive a rebate and try to learn from them too. So that's a little bit of a longer term project, but we are interested in kind of
Actually, one of the questions, Georgia Tech can figure it out, but it'd be interesting to see for folks who did not receive a rebate, how many went on to get an electric bike anyway?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Councilmember Wan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also want to thank Councilmember Westmoreland for spearheading this. We funded this with $1 million, was it $1 million of general fund money?
Yes, sir.
And so, given the oversubscription of this particular round, I mean, there's obviously appetite for more. I would just suggest, I think we're going to have some budgetary pressures for FY26, but perhaps we can get creative with some of the trust funds or even bond funding that isn't, wouldn't put pressure on, but I'd be interested in helping look for that. So let's chat. But just phenomenal results. I mean, I would have loved to have been an applicant, but glad that others were in the mix. So thank you.
Thank you. Be Councilmember Lewis.
Thank you, Chair Amos, and thank you as well, Councilmember Matt Westmoreland. The program was an amazing program in our area, not in District 12, and I wanted to highlight East Star Rides. We were able to work with the Propel and work with the ARC to include East Star Rides into this program. And did they come out being the #1 program, #1 seller in the entire?
That's correct.
You can say it.
So East Star was one of our 12 participating bike shops, operate on Campbellton. Just a fantastic story. They're one of the very few bike shops in that part of the city, a relatively new shop, fantastic to work with. And yes, they redeemed more rebates than any other shop which is just really, really impressive, a really great story. And it goes to show the enormous demand for the program in that part of the city. And also just, it's just a really wonderful story. And just, the type of operation that they run there too. A really good customer response too.
And it showed intention.
Yes.
So when the program came, E-Star was not they were not considered eligible for to be one of the 12 vendors.
Yeah.
And when they first came in, they were limited to a amount of bikes they can actually sell.
Mm-hmm.
And then they exceeded it. Then you exceeded it again. Then you helped them grow. It's a Black-owned bike organization in my district that I made sure was a part of. It just shows the intention, shows the appetite for it on the south side of the city if we do this type of equity. And so I know we need this. Budget-wise, when you think about budget-wise as a city, this is a need. If you look at this map, it did what it was designed to do. And we have bike lanes coming to the south side. Thank you to Councilmember Matt Westmoreland, who opened up my mind and my eyes to it about 2 years ago when he talked about what Canada spent on bike lanes as a country. And so as a state, I can't wait until we continue this. I hope we're able to, as a council, I hope we know that the city needs this. The city needs this, and I think other districts, we have different bike shops in specific parts of the city that should be eligible. And they should be open to being able to sell just as many as everybody else, because E-Star just proved it. And so thank you again for this, and if we can, let's highlight them. Typically, I know we put out a report, we send it out to the city. Let's highlight what the work we did, because we actually did this, and I would love if y'all could talk about what you did, and let's send it out, because that's a Black-owned organization on Calverton Road that we had to, we was fixing Calverton Road. You couldn't even get down the street sometimes, and people were still getting to them. So thank you again, Chair, for that. But I wanted to highlight what was going on the south side of the city, why that map is so dark on the south side this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Next will be our Vice Chair, Councilwoman Overstreet.
Since we do share Campbellton Road, I definitely wanted to weigh in and tell you how excited I am about this program as well. And we will definitely be looking for another funding mechanism as soon as possible to make sure that we can continue to capitalize on what we've started, for sure. Also want to update you on the fact that I've met with MARTA a couple times to make sure that the BRT that's coming through that stretch of Campbellton, our full city limit of City of Atlanta's portion on Campbellton is going to take you all the way past Butner. Literally, we've discussed and made sure that we're having protected bike lanes there. And everyone's on the right page now. So, and it looks like a vertical barrier to make sure that that area for anyone other than car drivers are going to be protected. And that's important because according to the Trails ATL surveys, that's when you get new bikers and you get new people using other modes of transportation when they feel protected instead of just the green stripes on the road. So really excited about what you've shared with us today. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think that ends all of the questions. Thank you for your presentation. I am glad my colleagues saw the maps. I know from what the report you and I talked about last year, I spoke about the maps as well. If you could, you can't do it today, an email to tell us what other stuff we learned, the questions that we wasn't answered, that we got answers to, because I think the maps definitely tell us a story that some of us knew, some of us know. So if you can put together that email that speaks about the e-bike program and, the lack of roads, the shapes of our bike lanes and things of that nature. So the other stuff we learned, send it to us too.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you for everything you do.
Thank you.
Okay. Actually, that brings us to letter G, public hearing. So you need to read that in, read that caption, then we'll start the public hearing, or we need to make a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'll sign the caption.
Thank you.
This takes us to section G, public hearing items. Item number 1, 250-1097, an ordinance by Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari to rename a portion of Dixie Street Southeast to waive certain provisions of Section 138-8 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances and for other purposes.
Motion has been made and seconded to open the public hearing. Please open the vote.
Mr. Chair, can you approve the mover and the seconder?
The mover was Councilmember Juan, second, Hillis.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The public hearing is open.
Thank you. We are now in the public hearing, which leads us to the public comment portion of the public hearing. And Ms. Phillips. You will have 3 minutes.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here this morning and truly appreciate the opportunity to share a few comments. So I just wanted to tell you a little bit about our organization. So I'm the CEO of Status Home, and we are an affordable housing organization that is working to end the HIV epidemic by providing the housing that's needed by low-income and formerly homeless individuals so that they can thrive. And the work that we do is really important. On any given day, we have around 450 people in our programs throughout the city of Atlanta. Over the last 3 years, we have been working to change our model so it's more sustainable, and that has meant the soon completion of, meaning only $75,000 left to raise, a $26 million capital campaign that has allowed us to purchase and renovate multifamily facilities throughout Atlanta. And I share all of that to say, we wouldn't be here, we wouldn't be doing this work if it was not for the spark. The spark of everything that we do is Evelyn Ullman. Evelyn Ullman back in 1988 had the experience where someone close to her living with AIDS was evicted and had nowhere to go. And she didn't just want to solve the problem for him. She wanted to solve the problem. And so what she did was worked with the Community Foundation, other local funders, and went out and raised the funds to purchase our first location, which we actually still own today. It was a house that served 5 people. Since then, we've renovated it, so there's actually an apartment building attached to the back. And it really was the root of all that we do. And so one of our locations that we purchased was on Dixie Street. And as we discussed the name, we approached and thought about the opportunity to rename that and to really reclaim that portion and to name it for someone who has been so significant to our organization. The important thing to know is that she hasn't been important just to us. She also has been pivotal for several organizations in Atlanta. She's been a master fundraiser and philanthropist. She's been honored through the Association of Fundraising Professionals for that. She helped us purchase and renovate another facility. And so there are a few other people that will speak as well, but just wanted to really center this in saying that all that we are doing, the thousands of people that we've been able to serve, and the thousands more that we will serve until the HIV epidemic is done, all started with that spark. And so, particularly at this time, we're really excited about the opportunity to shine a light on her and also just have that street be a beacon of hope for anyone who drives past. So thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker would be Renee Starrett.
Good morning. Thank you. I'm also speaking about renaming Dixie Street. My name is Renee Starrett, and I have worked at Jerusalem House, which is now Status Home, since 2002. And I had the pleasure of working with Evelyn for many years because she was still on the board when I joined. Evelyn's daughter, who is Nancy Ullman Miller, was supposed to read these remarks that I'm about to read, but unfortunately her husband went into the hospital. So I'm going to read those for her. Evelyn Ullman is my mother. She and my father lived in Atlanta for over 50 years, during which time she devoted considerable time and energy into making Atlanta a better place, particularly for communities of disadvantaged residents. For most of my childhood, Mom was deeply involved with Atlanta Area Services for the Blind, which is now the Center for the Visually Impaired. In addition to serving on the board, she did everything from fundraising to translating books into Braille. I will never forget watching her sitting at our dining room table typing in Braille, which she had taught herself, for hours on end. She was completely devoted to bettering the lives of those with severe visual impairment. While continuing her work with CVI, she was a founding member of Jerusalem House, now Status Home, in 1988 as a safe place for homeless people with HIV or AIDS. At this time, this community had no hope, no future, and no place to live. She believed that everyone deserves to live, and in those days to die, with dignity. And she devoted her considerable talents and energy into creating this safe haven. Fortunately, HIV is no longer the death sentence that it once was, but the need for housing and support for those who have contracted the virus continues unabated. Status Home's latest facility is located on the proposed Ullman Court. Evelyn is now 92 years old, and she lives in a nursing home near Chapel Hill, North Carolina. She has her own vision issues now because she shattered her right eye after a bad fall, her eye socket, and she later suffered a pretty severe stroke. Many have been honored for their good works after they die, but few are fortunate enough to be so honored while they are alive. I know that she would be deeply touched and humbled should you decide to rename this section of Dixie Highway Ullman Court. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, ma'am. And our next speaker will be Abigail Parkes.
Good morning, and thank you. My name is Abby Parks, like you said, and I'm proud to be here today to represent the Center for the Visually Impaired as we honor Evelyn Ullman. Evelyn's been a generous friend to many people in Atlanta, and especially to people with vision loss. Her leadership inspired other people to join our board, and she led multiple successful fundraising campaigns for us. During her term as board chair, Evelyn approached Mrs. Florence Hunt Maxwell, for whom our low vision clinic is now named for, and she successfully received a letter of intent to bequeath the property located on Peachtree Street to us. And ownership of that building was an important source of funding when we went to sell it, which allowed us to purchase and renovate our current location off of West Peachtree Street. We're deeply grateful for Ms. Ullman's leadership, service, and commitment to our mission and all of the others in Atlanta, and we support the motion to rename a portion of Dixie Street in her honor. Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to the end of our speakers for public hearing. Thank you all for coming out. Second motion has been made by Councilmember Juan to come out of public hearing. I second it. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The public hearing is now closed.
Thank you. Back to the item, Mr. Johnson. I think we have a substitute motion to bring forward a substitute. Motion has been made and second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The substitute before you. The substitute introduces a new section 3, waiving the provisions related to ATL DOT obligations associated with the application submissions, and it also establishes a new section 4, waiving the provisions concerning duration limitations and maintenance obligations.
Thanks, sir. I think we're actually being asked to hold this piece of information, so motion to hold. Okay. So you got a couple of questions.
Before it needs to go through the MPUs for review and comment.
Okay, so I see people have lined up, so Councilmember Lewis. We're on the list.
Thank you. And I was looking up the old name of Memorial Drive. But anytime you see a legislation where we want to rename a street named Dixie Street that connects to Memorial Drive in Atlanta, Georgia, and you have someone who fought something that helps all of us, easy as yes I've ever seen. My first year in office, I passed legislation to look at the names that are odes to the civil rights. And we passed that legislation, and I got a community called Rebel Valley Forest. One street's called Nathan's One street is called So it's time for us to go and change up these names and make sure we recognize the true generals who are fighting wars that we're fighting here in the city. So thank you for not thinking it robbery to come and stand here in front of City Council and stand up for Ms. Evelyn. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Next speaker, Councilmember Juan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to acknowledge, I don't know if y'all know or not, but I actually worked at Jerusalem House, now Status Home, from 2009 to 2012. And I understand the impact and the importance of the work that they do. I wanted to explain to everybody, we are going to have to hold this today procedurally because it has to get routed through the neighborhoods. I didn't want y'all to think that there's not support up here because there is a lot of support. But I just wanted to, I think this is incredibly worthy. I'm excited to be hopefully part of the council that actually enables this because of the work that she did. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. If there's no more speakers, I would make a motion to hold. Motion has been made and second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. Vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The item is held in committee.
Thanks, sir. Next item.
This takes us to our consent agenda, Section H, ordinance for first reading. Item number 225-01146, an ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to enter into an airport use and lease agreement with Key Lime Air Corporation doing business as Denver Air Connection at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport for an initial term retroactively effective December 1st, 2024, with the option to renew for successive terms of 5 years through no later than June 30th, 2036, and for other purposes. This takes us to our regular agenda, Section I, ordinances for second reading. Item number 325-01119, an ordinance by Transportation Committee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to waive the competitive source election provisions contained in Section 2-1187 of Article 10 Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, as well as any other conflicting code provisions, and to authorize the mayor as designated to execute an amendment for agreement listed herein, services agreement for commercial advertising at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, to change the gross revenue yearly audit and rent reporting periods from calendar year to the city's fiscal year cycle of July 1st to June 30th through the remainder of the term of the agreement, and to reimburse Clear Channel Outdoor LLC doing business as Clear Channel Airports for additional lead upgrades, an amount not to exceed $687,500.00 by reducing rent in the amount of $68,750.00 per month for a 10-month period and for other purposes.
Second. Motion has been made and second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
Thank you. Next item.
Item number 425-01120, an ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or on behalf of the city to execute all documents necessary for the acquisition of certain property interests necessary for the Cortland Piedmont Safe Streets project, authorizing negotiations with property owners for the acquisition of such property interests, authorizing title searches, appraisal surveys, and any other items necessary for the acquisition of such property interests, authorizing the mayor and the city attorney in the event negotiations are unsuccessful to institute condemnation proceedings pursuant to the declaration of taking method, OCGA 32-3-1, waiving certain provisions of Article 10 Real Estate and Procurement Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances. All contracted work will be all contracted work and payments for property interests to be paid from accounts numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Motion to approve. Motion has been made and second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 525-01121, an ordinance by Transportation Committee to amend the fiscal year 2025 Airport Renewal and Extension Fund, Airport Passenger Facility Charge Fund, GARBS 2012A non-amount, GARBS 2012C amount, GARBS 2019A non-amount, GARBS 2019B amount, budgets by transferring to and from appropriations a total amount of $46,900,050.00 for reimbursement of the Aviation Encumbrance Program and for other purposes.
Second. Motion has been made and second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 6, 25-01122, an ordinance by Transportation Committee to amend FY 2025 Airport Renewal and Extension Fund, Airport Passenger Facility Charge Fund, 2012A GARBS amount, 2012C GARBS non-amount, 2019A non-GARBS amount, 2019B amount GARBS, 2019C Airport PFC non-amount bond fund, 2022B amount GARBS, 2023B2 GARBS non-amount, 2023C GARBS amount, 2024A2 GARBS non-amount, 2024B GARBS amount, 2022C PFC non-amount bond fund, and 2022D PFC amount bond fund budgets by transferring to from appropriations a total amount of $18,329,002.00 for reimbursement of the Airport Revenue and Extension Fund, 2022C PFC non-amount bond fund, and 2022B PFC amount bond fund, and for other purposes.
Second. I'm gonna move slow so you can catch your breath, Mr. Johnson. Motion has been made and second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
Thank you. That moves us to our resolutions. When you're ready, read the captions.
Item number 7, 25R3212, a resolution by Councilmember Jason Dozier requesting the mayor or designee to prohibit parking on both sides of Ogden Street Southwest from Atlanta Student Movement Boulevard to its dead end, to authorize the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install signage along the prohibited area and for other purposes. The department requested that this item be filed.
Motion to file. So the motion has been made and seconded, but I hear the unreadiness. So could someone tell us why we're filing this paper, or could Mr. Johnson, do you know the reason?
Yes, Mr. Chair, the street was identified that it exceeded the 20 feet in width, so it needs to be filed and reintroduced as an ordinance.
Okay, so that's why we're doing it. Okay, so the motion has been made and seconded. Please open the vote. It is open.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is filed on committee.
Thanks, sir. Next item.
Mr. Chair, item number 8 requires a substitute. May we have a motion to bring forth a substitute?
Second. Motion is made and seconded. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? 6 yeas, 0 nays. The substitute is before you.
I do see one speaker. Councilmember Faroki.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilmember, hold on 1 second.
Let me sound the caption.
Okay, we're gonna sound the caption, then we're going to speak.
Item number 8, 25R3213, resolution by Councilmembers Amir Faroki, Jason Dozier, and Matt Westmoreland, as substituted by Transportation Committee, requesting the mayor's designee to prioritize the Moving Atlanta Forward Peachtree Safe Streets project to install pedestrian crosswalk in the vicinity of 225 Peachtree Street and for other purposes.
Okay, now, Councilmember Faroki.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, on the caption, I believe when it was read in, the full council meeting, it was read in with the support of, I don't know, at least 2/3, if not more, of council. So I just want to make sure that's reflected in the final document, that the number of council members that are co-sponsors of this paper is near unanimous across the council. I'm fine with the substitute, save for I'd like to, and you tell me procedurally how best to do this before we vote on it, but just to add in the second be it finally resolved clause, a time frame for which this project would be completed, so that it would read, be it finally resolved, the mayor or his designee is requested to install a pedestrian crosswalk, appropriate signage, and other measures necessary to ensure visibility of and safe passage for pedestrians in the vicinity of 225 Peachtree Street by no later than June 30th, 2025, adding in the time bit there to the resolve clause. And just as context for my colleagues, this is a section of Peachtree Street downtown, kind of the arguably the busiest pedestrian block of downtown, because it's both a business hub, lunch hub, convention hub, and this crosswalk was installed initially 4 or 5 years ago, later removed, though not visibly removed. It still looked like a crosswalk. A gentleman died recently using the crosswalk, not crosswalk. I believe, and I think most of my colleagues believe, this is a moment where urgency and time is of the essence to be clear about putting a crosswalk here. It remains kind of a mid-block, high-demand area, and I think it's best if we ask DOT to reinstall the crosswalk. So I don't know if I need to make a motion to amend the substitute. Yeah, so I will move to amend as stated there with the date in that second be it finally resolved clause.
There's a motion on the floor has been made in second, but we're in discussion, so Councilmember Hillis.
Just as part of the amendment, if you would, I would like for it to also add my name as I was absent when this was introduced, so.
Yeah, I would amend my proposed amendment to include Councilor Hillis in the caption and then to add a date in the second be it finally resolved clause, June 30th, 2025.
So I think that's all the comments. Just speaking to this, even in our transportation briefing, I spoke, I'm a little unnerved and unready to support now because of a date added. So I would abstain. That would be my motion. Just wanted to make my vote just until I can talk to ADOT, putting a date on the department to do something. I'm kind of nervous until I can talk to them.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. It was expressed to me as well. I know typically you move for a speed table or a new crosswalk, there's no date on it, but I mean, this is a scenario in which we had a death. I think it's important to be clear about pedestrian opportunities in this part of downtown. I'll also note that, DOT was quick to go out and remove the crosswalk fully within a week or so after the death. They can put it back quickly as well. So I understand we typically don't put a time frame on an infrastructure request, but this is one that I think time is of the essence.
Thank you. Councilmember Lewis.
Councilmember Faroki, you typically don't do this, so I want to add my name to this, and I understand the urgency of this. So thank you for doing this legislation.
Thank you,
and for the date. Sometimes you have to do a date to get some things done, and thank you again.
Appreciate that. So I will amend my amended amendment to include in the caption Councilmembers Lewis, Overstreet, and Hillis, as well as the date amendment to the second be finally resolved clause. Thank you.
So motion has been made in second. Any more discussion? Please open the vote.
Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 1 abstention. The motion to amend passes.
I'll move to approve as amended.
But there's a motion that has been made to approve upon substitute as amended. I think second, Councilmember Juan. Actually, I think I seen Commissioner Cavanagh. Question. Is there anyone else we need to talk to about putting this crosswalk down? State, anyone else?
Good morning, Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Solomon Cavanagh, Commissioner, ATL DOT. So, given the tragic events, we understand the urgency around this issue. There are a number of businesses and also the CID that helps coordinate in this area of downtown. There is an opportunity to do outreach and coordinate with all those entities in the area, in the corridor. So we'll be following up with this body to see next steps and, the most expedient way forward.
So we are the only regulatory agent that needs to be in this conversation?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. There's a motion on the floor that has been made in second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. Vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable on substitute as amended.
Next item.
Item number 925R, 3214, a resolution by Councilmember Amir Faroki authorizing the mayor as designee on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to execute a project management agreement with the Atlanta Downtown Improvement District for the Cortland Piedmont Safe Streets project in amount not to exceed $5,995,617.50. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account numbers listed herein. And for other purposes, Mr. Chair, this item will need to be amended to attach the project management agreement, which is Exhibit A.
Second. Motion has been made and second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The item is amended.
Thank you. Next vote. Next item. Oh, that's right. Back up. The motion has been made to move to approve as amended. Second. Motion has been made and second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable as amended.
Thank you. Now next item.
Item number 1025R 3219, a resolution by Councilmember Mary Norwood authorizing the mayor or his designee to exercise the first renewal option for agreement listed herein, intersection improvements project on Morris Mill Road at 2 locations with BRTU Construction Incorporated on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation for a term of 1 year, effective March 22nd, 2025 through March 21st, 2026, an amount not to exceed $4,294,491.74. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account number listed herein and for other purposes.
Second. Motion has been made and second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 1125R 3272, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute a project management agreement with Midtown Business Association Incorporated, doing business as Midtown Alliance, for West Peachtree Street and Spring Street Quick Build Complete Streets project, to execute any required agreements for project participation and implementation on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation, an amount not to exceed $1,648,700.69. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Motion to approve. Motion has been made and second. Councilmember Juan.
This is more of a procedural question. In contrast to the one we just did with Cortland Piedmont, where we were going into an agreement with the CID, this one we're going into the agreement with Midtown Alliance. Let me underscore that I'm supportive of us using these vehicles to expedite the implementation of moving our bond projects, but I'm curious as to why they're different. I mean, the Midtown does have a CID, so I'm just curious the vehicle that we're using for this.
Solomon Gavin as Commissioner, ATL DOT. Councilmember, would you mind repeating the nature?
Yep. So by contrast, I'm supportive of this. We are moving into an agreement with Midtown Alliance. The previous paper, that's Cortland and Piedmont, however, we were going into an agreement with the CID. Midtown also has a CID, so obviously there was a decision to go with Midtown Alliance versus Midtown CID, and I'm curious as to what the logic is. And the reason why I'm asking is that this, to me, opens the door up for other areas of the city that don't have CIDs to be able to potentially execute projects. I mean, and you know I'm all about trying to get our projects executed faster, so that's really the basis of my question.
So I need clarity on why it's not going to the CID. Hold on, I have Deputy Commissioner Bromberg joining.
Good morning, Deputy Commissioner Lenore Bromberg. The Midtown Alliance is the legal name of the CID.
Oh.
That's why. So we have the same issue, Upper West Side CID. That is not their legal name. They have another name, and so we have to list both of them.
So it still requires a CID for us to be able to essentially deploy these funds?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir. And seeing no more speakers, make a motion to approve. And second by Councilmember Juan. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable.
Next item.
Item number 1225R3273, resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee exercise renewal option number 1 for contract listed herein, Airport and Economic Development Global Training Program with Georgia Tech Research Corporation for a term of 1 year effective March 27th, 2025 through March 26th, 2026, an amount not to exceed $100,000.00 to provide training resources for the Department of Aviation for a renewal term of 1 year. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Second. Motion been made and second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable.
Thank you. Next item.
Item number 1325R3274, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the reemployment of City of Atlanta Fire Rescue Department retiree Michael Winfrey as Airport Manager, Emergency Management Program Administrator for an annual compensation not to exceed $112,907.12 pursuant to Section 3-505B of the Charter of the City of Atlanta and for other purposes.
Motion to approve. Motion has been made and second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 1425R3275, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to execute a memorandum of understanding with United Airlines Incorporated for the uses of certain gates and space at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport and for other purposes.
Motion to approve. Motion has been made second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable. Mr. Chair, that concludes our legislative items for this morning.
Are there any comments, concerns, questions? Seeing none, that brings us to the end of our committee meeting. Thank you, everyone, for attending. We stand adjourned.